This is intentional. We don't want a pay-to-win system. Really? Hey guys, LF here again, bringing you more RO3 content. So, as of about a day and a half ago or 2 days ago, there was an AMA with producer U. The interesting topics here, they didn't really quite answer all of the questions just yet, but I feel like the questions that they managed to answer did have some value and have some insight to it. So I think it's something that's worth covering for sure. And we're just gonna scroll down here so that you can actually see what it is that they said. And one of the Caphras, or both of the Caphras, will be trying to translate for him as much as possible right now, just so we don't miss any topics essentially. So we're gonna start off with this one first. And he said models to gather more players together, making the world feel lively and fun. So we're getting right, and this is not to say that like, hey, by the way, they just happen to have every game always has, especially in an alpha phase or even a beta phase, right? Most recently probably is from games like Chrono Odyssey, but they also had another build or different builds or versions of the game that they have currently on the side. It's a free game. It's the same thing with RO3 as well. RO3 definitely has multiple models, multiple versions or builds of the game, and at launch is entirely going to depend on how they tweak each and every single one, or that specific one that they're going to have, depending on the user feedback. And this is one of the reasons why I tell people all the time, as bad as Gravity's history is, if you relevant change launches is the best time to do it, right? So if you have those concerns about the game, you want RO3 to be like a true successor to RO1, for example, and you have a belief of how you want that done, regardless of how it's done, then you have to voice it out in the Discord as well, because they are reading. Sometimes they're in there just to hang in. But yeah, adding currency to the card system. Can we keep the original card system? And he replies to here, and the popular system, so we're removing them. Expect new innovations for cards to enhance collection value. So this is definitely good in a way, although I don't think that the card system upgrading system inherently was bad. And this is like, I think this is like one of the dangers of like, I think, listening just to what everybody's saying, because like the card upgrading system wasn't unpopular because it was a bad system. It was unpopular because emotionally people feel negatively towards it because of how it was implemented in RO Origins, right? In RO Origins, the only way that you could literally upgrade your cards is by getting the shards, and in order to get these cards, you could either try to farm cards manually, which is going to take forever because even the regular cards are lower drop rate, or you could do ×10 draws by paying real money to draw the cards. And that's why people were able to get ahead of that, and that's why it was such an unpopular system, because again, it was one of those systems in the game in RO Origins that allowed you to get ahead so far forward, because you could, if you spent money, right? But I think that is, in a way, it stimulates the card economy. So that way, even the quote-unquote like useless cards that nobody wants can be dismantled and used to upgrade existing cards. So now that creates like another avenue for the card economy. So even if you get a card drop, even if you get a card drop and it's not the most useful card, or it's not even like a wanted card, there still has some inherent value to it, because like, yeah, sure, maybe you're not going to use it, but you can dismantle it and then and then use it to upgrade your existing cards that you do want to use for endgame, right? Not included is not a part of like a pay-to-win system or a pay-to-win ecosystem. Card upgrading itself actually is not that bad. Like useless cards clogging the market and nobody's buying them. There's no economy for it. There's no reason for people to actually buy it, right? Besides like, maybe if there's a card deposit, they'll buy it and then deposit it and then they never need it again. But the supply for that card, it's going to continue dropping as long as people are killing mobs in those areas. So that would have been a system to an aim, but to me, honestly, it is what it is, right? I'm pretty sure like in the future, when there's thousands to even millions of those useless cards in the market, I'm pretty sure they will realize it, and I'm pretty sure they will be like, Well, we have to find a sync for these cards now, right? Same way that, you know, a company would need a silver or a Zenny sync, so to speak, to kind of like reset. The next hot topic: remove any power indicator, including the CP value for equipment. Don't have a combat power system, and there definitely won't be a combat power ranking either. I think this is good ways than people realize. The combat power that I could care less about. It's just a numerical representation of like what you have currently, right? King is good in multiple ways, right? Number one, it a factor a lot of people, and number two, because a game does not have a ranking, means that it's a good sign. It veers away from that FOMO kind of like cash for people to try to spend money, or whales to spend money so that they can be higher up on the rankings for, you know, for ego or whatever, right? So that's good. That's veering away from that. Equipment or Remnant Echoes. This is simply a rating system, not combat power. It is combat power. Let's not kid ourselves. It's combat power, right? I'm not saying that it's bad, but it is combat power. Our goal is straightforward. By introducing a rating system, we want to help new RO players understand what kind of equipment they should choose. RO is a very complex game. The intricate systems that once brought joy to veteran players can actually become a barrier for newcomers trying to understand the game. Of course, when you actually play, you might notice that a higher rating doesn't always mean better DPS. The reason for this is that we've preserved the unique BD, I don't know what BD is, of RO, maybe like the feel builds. Still, for the most part, a higher rating will help new players make well-rounded choices. Yeah, armor has 2 slots, weapon has 4 slots. Will this still be changed or stick to the classic number of cards that can be slotted? This feature seems kind of imbalanced towards other players, especially when mini and MVP card players. We encourage interaction by enabling the trade of unidentified equipment. In the future, some items from the trade hall will be moved to the stall. The stall is currently being developed now. Let's put in the stalls, if they're saying this now. I hope that they don't pull the economy from getting too out of hand, or even RMTers from being a thing. Right, so people don't sell a P for like 100 million Zenny or something, right? Few considerations. In particular, we have some especially distinctive cards. For example, when converting armor into certain attribute, conflicts may arise. Oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, we will address all these issues. Again, just have one elemental card per armor piece. Problem solved. Already has like elemental cards like upgraded. Just have them put both in there, and they get the bonus from the second card, but they don't get the elemental bonus from it. Alright, so that's an option as well. It's a pretty random, making it very difficult to complete an ideal build. So hopefully there are mechanics like color locking, resetting, trading, or items that is guaranteed the desired color. This question raised by Ron X, you will answer both questions together. He said, not sure if everyone has noticed, but it's actually a seasonal gameplay system. We'll be releasing content related to the seasons within seasonal game modes. Each season will feature both solo and multiplayer modes, so you can look forward to that. So there's going to be a solo, again, solo dungeons, and then multiplayer dungeons as well that you could do with your friends, right? We'll see how they implement them for that as well. Which means that, you know, and this is something that I was told in advance already, that full note theme that you're seeing right now is that season 1 technically. In the next seasons they will have different themes and different bosses, so it's kind of crazy if they're going for like every season is going to be different bosses, different mechanics, and then it's going to match the effects of that season as well, that theme. So new, not really something I've experienced, where you will have items that have different like visual effects, which is pretty good. I like it. Let me say something a bit controversial. Any RNG system without trading is just unfair. Without trading, it can make the player experience really frustrating. For example, a paying player might spend $1 million and still not get as much as a free player. But if trading is allowed, that free player can sell their items to the paying player for, say, 100,000. It could also be vice versa, by the way, right? Like the free player could get cucked on their items. This way, the free player earns money and the paying player saves money. That be some form of pay to win that's gonna cause somebody to pay to win and, you know, get the Zenny that they can spend to buy stuff on the auction house, which is completely fine, as long as a free to play, because if you are, it's GG. A crucial thing, this at the end here, OS something pay to win. Just so you guys don't know, like I don't know why Kafra didn't decide to translate this, but he actually said here, of course, and I'll pop the translation for this here in a second. I think it's here. Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what he said. Need to pay to win. Very, very crucial translation that I don't know why it was missed. I don't know why it was like not put in here. But that's a miss. So I'm just gonna any type of like resets for or rerolls for the affixes and the respond. If we introduce this kind of feature, the demand for trading might decrease significantly. However, we genuinely hope to encourage more player-driven transactions. Okay, VP stats. That's a really good question. All of our stats could be gained by players' in-game activities. There would not be stats which can only be gained by paying. If there is such, the player community would be separated into different hierarchies. We all want to know how RO3's payment structures be like. But I would like to express my design philosophy now. Payment is always the outcome. Players would only pay for their emotions. Have like Google translate it a little bit here because I'm not sure, so we can kind of like compare both translations. All of our attributes are earnable through player effort. There won't be attributes that are exclusive to paid players. If an attribute is only available through paid access, it will create a segregated player ecosystem. Everyone wants to know the exact payment structure for RO3. However, I'd like to share my production philosophy. Paying is always about the outcome. People only pay for their own emotional value. I believe everyone is the same. I pay when I'm happy. Perhaps to help the team grow and achieve a common goal. Perhaps to look cool. Or perhaps for some exclusive performance opportunities. Like probably XP, certain buffs. Drop trait buffs. Pretty normal for free-to-play MMORPGs. Even Black Desert has it. If you pursue paid access from the start, wouldn't that be putting the cart before the horse? Content that we believe will be enjoyable for everyone to experience. Actually, we're more interested in discussing the game with everyone, not discussing payment. Monetization's a very... Alright, I guess they don't want to talk about the monetization here now. Within... But let's majority of the players are mostly interested in the monetization because again it makes sense because people breaks a game. Could be pay to win, but as long as I'm not gated myself, there's no paywall, I'm completely fine with it, right? And the progression is is reasonable. Is not to get players to pay for the game at the beginning here, yeah. Again, do model. So that's why they're going for the free-to-play model for sure. Reset, everyone can guess which elements are tied to the season. Hint, the theme of season 1 is music and the special symbol is note. That's what for players still playing, there's a completely new content experience. Each season's BD, I really don't know what BD means. I can kind of like guess based on the context clues, but I don't know what exactly means. Brings fresh visuals and gameplay. You may have noticed that once you complete a season's BD, you get unique visual and audio feedback. For example, the Assassin's Cross Ripper Slasher changes to the Thomas Spin. This provides a distinct sensory experience for every season. Again, you can see moves be like spinning, as in spinning on your toes, and then when you get like the upgraded version of it, you see the animation changes and he's like doing windmills on the ground. That's one of those things. For returning players, it's easier to come back without much cost. Since everyone starts from the same point in a new season, you'll need to collect and trade items all over again, just like everyone else. For new players, the learning curve is much less steep. For instance, after 20 years of operation, RO1 became very unfriendly to new players because there's just too much to learn. As a result, attracting new users became extremely difficult for RO1. With this system, we ensure that the game stays fresh and accessible. continuously welcome you in and play together. Approach in terms of like longevity. I think a lot of games really like systematically it's hard for some games, and sometimes they just can't figure it out how to easily integrate new players into the game already, right? Because if you're a vertical progression game, that's very hard to do. I know where like new players feel really behind, even though right, and a lot of players, a lot of casual players especially, don't have a lot of threshold when it comes to grinding. So that's one of the reasons why they're probably wanting to do this one, so that they can just hop into the content right away. So that makes me think that like, hey, with this system right here, is RO3 going to be a horizontal game versus vertical progression? I don't think that they will go the horizontal. I don't think they will go the horizontal like progression scheme, just because of like, I mean, from like a company perspective, horizontal games, while they do work and they can work, prime example being Guild Wars 2, I don't think it has the revenue potential as a vertical progression game, right? And I'm thinking about this from like a developer, a company perspective, because again, these guys do want to make money, right? You also have to kind of like think from their perspective as well. Is this something that they will benefit from, right? Horizontal progression games, right? But the player base wants, and that's what these wants, and that's the game that they're gonna make. Never been a horizontal progression game, and RO was meant to be. Maybe RO was meant to be a horizontal progression game. Who knows, right? I believe it's kind of like up to everybody's like interpretation, and as the devs, they kind of have to decide like, yeah, which player base are we gonna be catering to, right? Because you can't half and half it, right? You try to make everybody happy, it's impossible. You can't make everybody happy. You have to choose which player base you're gonna cater to and which one you're gonna market to, and then those players will come in naturally, right? Not be completely eliminated, which means that the previous seasons will feature probably, unexpected way in the future. I mean, that's just a way of them saying like, hey man, when we can't think of anything else and we we run out of ideas, we're gonna recycle these things, right? And we're gonna tweak it a little bit, so it's like an iPhone 11 to iPhone 12 type of deal. You know what I mean? It's the same thing, but but we added another camera, like, you know what I mean? That's really all that means. Like, look, I'm not trying to be a pessimist about it, it's just the reality of it, right? That this is as honeyed as these words can be, bring it back in an unexpected way in the future. Let's be real, right? I wasn't born yesterday. I've played enough MMOs. I know exactly what this means. If you need fillers, get fillers. Just make sure that they're scaled to the current level and the current patch of the game. That's it, right? We have been continuously working on UI adjustments. The UI you see now is work in progress. We will have the official UI in the future. For the majority of it, I think the UI looks pretty clean. I do agree that yes, they do need to clean it up a little bit more, make it more, a little bit less convoluted. I know that the questing thing right below your minimap is it's a little bulky right now, but that's because like they're fitting an announcement in there, basically, not really a quest. But yeah. Mode in the future, we will offer greater flexibility, allowing players to customize it themselves. And this is off the backs of somebody asking about the classic mode, right? Left click to walk in classic mode before, now it's like right click, feels a little awkward, and they're just saying basically like, yeah, we're gonna let you guys decide on that, have like different hotkeys for it. If you want like left click to walk, you'll have left click to walk option. Right click to walk, you can have that option. So overall, a good response to the question that they had there. GVG and rules for GVG will be interesting and highly strategic. Of course, the GVG gameplay will need to be refined together with everyone, which means that the Guild League, all of that right now is not the final thing. Obviously, we don't even have the sub-battlefield area yet. The morale thing for buffs is not even there yet as well. And yeah, that's it'll be interesting to see how it evolves. Maybe we'll get different maps in the future. Who knows? Keep it interesting. The word really as small as it was in the alpha, which I think it's crazy to me that people still ask these questions, by the way. It's an alpha. Even if it's in beta, you really think that the alpha or any test is the final version of the game on the world of RO, they will. Yeah, that's all I really have to say to that one. And RO1 was very complicated. It was a formula of iterative multiplication, which made it extremely difficult to balance jobs in the later stages of the game after the third and fourth job change, which is one of the reasons why that people really hated and like majority of the things like post renewal, right? Because not only did it have a theme parky feel to it, where they, you're required to go to like certain and grind there, otherwise you'll get penalized with XP, and the fact that like with the scaling how it was, it made AoE skills just purely OP. Some AoE skills even did more damage single target than single target skills or builds, right? Which is crazy. And yeah, there's either AoE or you're screwed. If you're building single target, which is one of the most fun types of game builds in the game, you're just screwed. Ability builds, because in any increase in one factor would be amplified many times over, and that's why you saw AoE is unifying and streamlining the combat formula. Our goal is to make the formula more robust and sustainable in the long run. You'll notice some differences in combat as you play. For example, magic spells can now crit, and weapons no longer have size modifiers, like daggers now dealing the same damage to enemies of all sizes, including large. We'll try our best to preserve the unique RO flavor while simplifying the mechanics. Painful decision for me as well, since the complexity of the original combat formula was a big part of the fun for BD in RO1, but out of long-term consideration, some decisions have to be made. Of course, before the official launch, everyone is welcome to share their thoughts and suggestions and so further together. Problem in simplifying the formula so it's not needlessly complicated, but I hope that this doesn't affect impact how builds are supposed to function, right? Because like again, if you're in some way, shape, or form, you have to balance it still. I don't think the mechanics before were super complicated. It's just that the power scaling that the game had made it not work as well as it used to, right? One is going to be the Q&A kind of that they had with certain guild masters and players from Thailand. So question number one on this one with the 10-player dungeons and guild leagues. The auction system in 10-player dungeon takes too long. It does. We agree that the timing feels drawn out. Even when we play it ourselves, we'll work on shortening it in the future versions. Again, short, and there are no sub-battlefields. A longer GVG mode is planned, with battles lasting around 30 minutes. Maybe it's another guild league, maybe it's another type of like GVG mode, we'll see. Hopefully they don't make like too many required ones. For me personally, that's not an issue, but I know that there are going to be a lot of players complaining about that stuff because yeah, it's going to feel a little too convoluted, especially if they try to apply these daily mechanics. I just think it's a bad idea. Can 10-player dungeon support automatic matchmaking? Not during the Pioneer tests. Once open beta launches, we'll add matchmaking to make team-ups easier. For now, we hope players take this chance to find partners in-game and make new friends. Imagine being social in a social game like an MMORPG. I know, it's a tough concept for a lot to get, but, you know, I think that it's overall better for the game, right? Because it lets people socialize, but it lets people socialize in behind the screen with an avatar instead of, you know, a lot of people are shy when it comes to face-to-face with a lot of people in real life. It happens. 6 skill slots feels too limiting. We've seen that there's a lot of discussion about this since the current version only includes third job skills. We've set it as 6 skills plus 1 buff slot. If future updates introduce larger skill combinations, we'll look into expanding the skill bar. Hallelujah. Okay, good. Expand it. Right? I can see they say it's only acceptable right now because third job skills, and very limited third job skills, by the way. So we set it as 6 skills. So hopefully they do expand this because yeah, the combat right now is too simple. It's too simple. It doesn't really have a lot of skill expression either, right? Round. You can rotate the camera to adjust your view. If you're a party leader, try using the marker. It helps reduce communication friction, especially useful in the Melkor dungeon. Large to maneuver around. Like, you could walk past him, no? death counts. We deliberately hit death counts to avoid discouraging weaker players. Imagine dying many times in battle. Seeing that number in the report can feel punishing. Instead, we want reports to highlight positive contributions so players feel their growth. Commanders, we still want death data for post-match analysis. Yes, we'll carefully consider allowing guildmasters to see privately. While useful for guildmasters/commanders, it can be demoralizing for weaker players. We need to gather more opinions before deciding, but here's the thing. In order for us to help these weaker players improve, or see if they can even improve, we need to know bad first. First of all, if you're going into any PvP guild, especially hardcore competitive PvP guilds, you come into it with the expectation already that you are going to be, regardless if you put this in the game or not, guilds will VOD review their members anyway, and it will require VODs anyway. This just makes our jobs easier and less time consuming. That's all it does. It's going to happen regardless. If anything, the best thing that you can probably do for this is have each time you create a guild, have them classify themselves, right? Where it's like casual guild, casual social guild, whatever, or like casual or hardcore guilds, right? And casual guilds don't show the deaths, right? Competitive, then show the deaths, because you cannot be competitive when you're afraid to know when you're doing bad, because if you don't, then how do you know you're doing like bad from a numerical standpoint? You don't know exactly how badly you're doing, and you don't know how much you can improve and how much you've improved when you've seen the changes in the numbers and the metrics after you've been corrected, right? So it just makes like, why are we, oh my god, why are we catering to snowflakes? Why are we catering to people who are too soft to actually see if they're doing badly? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why is that a thing? Small. Customizable UI settings are planned for future updates. Okay. Hopefully we can like have our own emblems. But yeah, this just irks me a little, right? It's like, just if a guild is casual and they don't care about their deaths, right? They're just casually playing the game, enjoying it, win or lose. They probably don't even care. But like, if a game is actually trying to a guild is actually trying to compete, then they need to know which one of their players is performing like the least, right? Because it's two things. We're gonna look at the metrics, and we're gonna look at the people that have the worst performance, right? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at those players' VODs, because every hardcore competitive guild, when a game launches, will 100% require you to record your play in GVGs, in competitive content, right? So then we can go ahead and pull those players to the side, have them open up their VODs or post their VODs, and we'll do a VOD review with them, and we'll tell them exactly why they performed really badly, and that's how they improve. Without those metrics and without those things, and first of all, without the mentality of wanting to get better anyway, when you're in a competitive guild, keyword being competitive, then maybe they don't belong in a competitive guild, and that's okay, right? It's like, we need to stop this unrealistic expectations that people who do not behave competitively and do not have a competitive mindset are okay with joining a competitive guild, because a competitive guild usually gives you the best, like the best results, the best rewards, right? Because your chances are you're probably going to be winning, or at least like doing everything that you can to win, and that's not okay, right? If you're not in there to improve, if you're going to a competitive guild without the mentality of wanting to improve your play, then you shouldn't be there. Have training dummies to test builds already in the works. They'll be available in open beta along with maps designed specifically for testing. Can movement be set left click like in Ragnarok Online? If players prefer it, we can bring it back. Yeah, so they'll consider having them having people assign hotkeys and all that by themselves. Field monsters always spawn in the same spot. Can they spawn randomly? We'll consider this and gather more feedback before making changes. Honestly, the reason why people worry about this is because it's a symptom of autoplay. In packs, and if there's fine, video does it, right? There's a lot of like Mitten 2 does it, right? There's these games that like actually still do it and they don't have autoplay, and it's fine, right? all it does, it makes it a little bit easier, going like from pack grinding for people that are actually manually grinding. Q4 stat differences between equipment colors are too small. Red equipment feels underwhelming even after the effort it takes to obtain. This is intentional. We don't want a pay-to-win system. Really? If the stat gap were too large, it would push players toward cash upgrades. Our goal is to keep the gap between paying and non-paying players fair. And I'll believe it when I see it. Once I see that there is no paywall, there is no gate for free-to-play players, then I'll believe it. Can't blame me for being skeptical. I know Gravity's history all too well. So until I see it, then we'll circle back to it. Yeah? Okay, here. Just move my camera here. Will there be a combat power system? We notice characters don't show power, but equipment does. No power system, no leaderboards. They already covered this before. Chat with a producer. What makes a game feel too much like a mobile game to you? Since the Pioneer test began, we've received lots of debate around this mobile game feel. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Our vision is for RO3 to retain the strengths of PC gaming while serving longtime RO fans, yet remain accessible to newcomers. Your voice will not be left out. But will they be listened to? Guess we'll find out.